Hey everyone, it's Vinny again. There's some big NFL news coming out. The team, formerly known as the Washington Redskins, has decided for this year, this year, before they get an actual name, whether it be Red Tails, Warriors, Red Wolves, what have you, they will be known as the Washington Football Team. Yes, that's right, the Washington Football Team. That's their current name at the moment, with their main logo being the W. They will be called this for now. It's gonna be the uniform's gonna be the same. It just instead of Redskins, it's gonna have Washington across the front, and instead of the logo, it's gonna have the number of the player. So let's say you're Dwayne Haskins and you're number 7. 7 will be on both sides of the helmet, similar to Alabama. That's gonna be how Alabama does it. They're also not gonna have the stripe down the center. It's gonna be like think of the Browns. Like I said, think of the Alabama Crimson Tide. Think of them except burgundy and gold instead of was like maroon and gray. Is that the correct color? And the numbers, instead of being white, it'll be gold. I'm mixed on this. I mean, a lot of people just call them Washington. I would have preferred football club instead of football team because I think that sounds a little bit more eye-catching than just football team. But for right now, it's the right way to go. Keep it a to-be-determined name. Now, whether that's a Warriors or Red Wolves or Red Tails, a whole bunch of options. What the team said they're going to be going to do is that they're going to speak with players, faculty. Rivera's going to have a say, Snyder's going to have a say, and they're going to speak to the people in the DMV area of what they would like the team to be. Now, it could be, like I said, it could be Red Wolves, it could be Red Tails, it could be Warriors, it could be anything they want. For all we know, it could be DC Sentinels, like it was said before, because the term DC Sentinels was actually a domain name that came up. Now, will that actually be the new name of the Redskins? Maybe, maybe not. If you guys don't know, The Replacements was a movie in 2000 made by Warner Brothers where Keanu Reeves plays Shane Falco, who is a replacement player on the Washington Sentinels, which, by the way, was based off the 1987 strike-shortened season where the Redskins actually went on to win the Super Bowl over the Denver Broncos. Now, Sentinels, in case you don't know, whenever I think of Sentinel, it's usually a soldier. That's usually what it comes down to. Usually when it's referred to. Whenever I think of Sentinel, personally, I always think of that big giant robot mech from X-Men. You know who Sentinel is? Those giant big robot bulking guys. I don't know much about X-Men. I'm more of an Avengers person. I've always have been. I actually have 50 of the classic comics on big silver hardcover books, and I've of course watched all the MCU. I'm curious how they're going to implement the X-Men, but that's besides the point. Right now, they will be called the Washington Football Team, WFT. Yes, that is their initials. Yes. I'm aware some of you might say, hey, isn't that an anagram for WTF? And yes, you are correct. And going by the history of the Washington Redskins, well, at least ever since Dan Snyder brought the team, you could say that is the reaction of fans every single season for the most part. Yeah, that's a little smarmy by me, but hear me out here. I would not mind this as their potential team name going forward. Temporary, I'm completely fine with it. Permanently, I am against this because what is your new name? No name. What is your identity? No identity. What's your logo? No logo. Literally just our word mark is our logo. Actually, technically the W is the temporary logo for now. And I think that's better than just having a word mark like how the Anaheim Ducks did it from 2007 to 2013. But to be fair, they did win the cup over the Ottawa Senators, wearing that word mark logo, and it was very odd. It's just very strange how you have like a word mark as your logo. But hey, I've seen crazier things, potentially. Also, in terms of the news, the Redskins are not the only team that's going through a change of the name, because the NHL team in Seattle has officially came out with its brand new name. And they've gone through a lot of terms. They've gone through emeralds. They've thought of totems. They thought of sockeyes. They thought of a lot. But there was one obvious winner here. It was Kraken. and that is the name they went with. The Seattle Kraken. They have a really sharp logo. It's the S, almost like the Seattle Metropolitans. Also, the shadowy tentacle kind of symbolizing how the Kraken is deep in the ocean, and the eye, it's lunging at your prey. It's very intimidating. It's a sharp logo. I love the color scheme of the navy and the turquoise and the salmon. I love their alternate. It has an anchor with the space needle. I think that is also pretty sharp. And I love their word mark too. I think Seattle hit it right out of the park here. Now, I would say this is better than Vegas Golden Knights. Now, I think that's a pretty cool name. I think their logo is pretty cool. But I love the name of the Seattle Kraken because a Kraken, a big, giant squid, trapping pirate ships and sinking them down to the bottom of the ocean with everyone on board. They die from the hypothermia, and all that's left is their skeletons. Now that is a cool name. We really gonna go with totems? Yes, I understand that the term totem is historical because there was a professional team called the Totems from the 40s to the 70s and the WHL. However, now with the native imagery, it's a little more touchy. And also with today's environment, you also want to have a name that's very marketable. And let's be real, what sounds a lot more marketable? Totems or Kraken? I mean, you could have the team say, release the Kraken, and the team goes onto the ice. You can call, and I know it's called the Greenhouse, but you could also call it the Crack House. You can call the fans crackheads. I mean, you could have an octopus mascot. I mean, yeah, the Red Wings technically have that with the big octopus at the top. That's a whole legend how they won 8 games and they won the cup. But I think it is pretty cool. I love the Kraken name. I'm very happy they went with it. It was the right decision. I love the color scheme. That is how you advertise. You have a whole big nautical theme. Just deep, dark, intimidating, mysterious. I love that. I love that name. And then finally, the other news of the day in the world of sports, except for one other tidbit I will get on just afterwards. The MLB, I'm very happy if this does happen. Opening day is at 7 o'clock tonight between the Yankees and Nationals. However, there might be one more wrinkle for this season. They're thinking about expanding the playoffs from 10 teams to 16 teams. I love this idea because with less regular season games, the players and the owners need some more revenue to get in. They need more revenue for the season. And what better way to do that than playoffs? I mean, with more teams in the playoffs, these smaller market teams like the Brewers or the Reds, they have a better shot at making it. And let's say this was implemented back in 2012. The Angels, for instance, would have made the playoffs 5 times. 5 times. That's the most. Now, what is a healthier MLB? Mike Trout in the playoffs more or Mike Trout in the playoffs less? Also, if you had 16 games ever since 2012, the Yankees, Cardinals, Dodgers, and Nationals would have made the playoffs every single year from 2013 to 2019. That tells you how dominant those teams have been this entire decade. Obviously, the Yankees are always dominant, and obviously the Dodgers have been dominant ever since 2013. But the Cardinals and the Nationals, you cannot underestimate how dominant those teams have been. You cannot underestimate how well run those organizations are. The class of the East, the Central, and the West right there. Now, yeah, you have the Braves that could be there or the Phillies, but for this decade, it's been the Nationals and the World Series run they went on last year is the pinnacle of that. I hope this happens. Also, another wrinkle I should mention, the way they're going to do it is not the traditional 1 through 8, and it just does normally because of the 16-game season, and because a lot of teams are going to be pretty close together, and there might be a lot of tiebreakers. The way it's going to happen is that the division winners, let's say the AL division winners are the Yankees for the number 1, Twins number 2, and Astros number 3. Let's say the Yankees decide that they want to go against the let's say they want to go against the Oakland Athletics. And then the Minnesota Twins say, let's say they want to go against the Cleveland Indians. And finally, the Houston Astros say, fine, we'll bite the bullet. We'll go against the Chicago White Sox, for instance. That means the Tampa Bay Rays, let's say that they're the top wild card, would go against the Los Angeles Angels. It's hypothetical here. That's just an idea of how it could be. Now, I've seen some people criticize, say, oh, this makes it a whole show. Not necessarily, because the tiebreakers are going to be involved. Like, you can have as many as like 5 teams tied for that second wild card spot. You really gonna have coin flips, multiple coin flips? No, that's not fun. You know what's actually fun? Playoffs. And what better way? Would you rather have a bunch of regular season games, or would you rather have multiple chances to make the playoffs? Imagine if this happened for the Marlins. The fans would actually go to Marlins games. I'm not trying to insult the Marlins, but you would have a better chance of having people go to the games because the team would be in contention for the playoffs. Now, does that sound fun? The Marlins being competitive. Now, that sounds really interesting. I don't understand why people don't want this. I want it. Now I see people say, oh my God, you let everyone in. Listen, 60-game regular season we're having this year, okay? For this year only, to make up for lost revenue and to get more eyeballs on the TV when you have the NBA coming back and the NHL coming back, and also potentially the NFL, if it is going to happen, because all the preseason games are canceled. What better way, from a marketing perspective, for the MLB would there be than adding more playoff teams? It's genius. It's the absolute right decision to have. I mean, I can't believe you guys are complaining about having wanting to have less baseball. You really want to have less baseball? It's not going to water down the field. I mean, I've seen every other person I see seeing the Dodgers and or Yankees making the World Series. That's boring, guys. You really want to see Yankees Dodgers Part 12 for sure as a guaranteed lock? No, that doesn't sound as fun. You know what actually sounds fun? They're all potentially have to fight for their lives in the first round against, let's say, the Angels or the Padres. Now that sounds a lot more exciting than seeing, here they go again against another team. No. It actually sounds exciting. Like how it is for the NHL. It doesn't mean, just because you're the number 1 seed in the playoffs, does not mean you're going to make it throughout. Like, for instance, last year, the Calgary Flames are the number 1 seed for the West, and they lost in 5 games to the Colorado Avalanche. And yes, there's less parity in the NBA, but the games are still pretty competitive. They're competitive, and these teams have a chance to fight for something. And that's also why I have no issue with the extra play-in that could potentially happen in the West or East. Let's say if the Wizards get bigger, or the Pelicans. Would you like to see less playoff games or more playoff games? More playoff games means more revenue for the NBA, more eyeballs on the screen, and more people interested. More people are going to be interested and glued to their screens and feeling the team actually has to fight for something. That's also why I loved how in 2012 the MLB included the wildcard game, because you have that instant Game 7 feeling immediately as you start, and you have that extra playoff team. So another team, if you didn't have the wild card game, the Pirates would not be pretty good during this time probably. They would have had to fight a lot harder, and the Pirates have been mostly bad since the early 90s. I mean, give them something. Please, give them something. Give them something. The Reds now definitely should make the playoffs now if this happens. The Reds are a team I really like going into the regular season. Shortened, but nonetheless. Who knows, the Mets, the Phillies, the Diamondbacks, the Padres? I mean, if you only have the Dodgers in the playoffs and you don't have anyone else from that division making it, you just have it be like the NL East or the NL Central, what does it say about the NL West? What does it say about the Padres? What does that say about the Diamondbacks? Now, with potentially 16 teams, you could have a Diamondbacks or Padres sneaking in as a 7 or 8 seed. And for all we know, let's say the Padres are one of those hot teams going into the end of the regular season. For all we know, that could be the team that many other teams are wanting to avoid, potentially. They might want to avoid them. I'd avoid them if they get that hot. And they have to play against the Nationals, for instance. That would be a fun series. I mean, what's better? Just one game to decide it, or 3 games? Baseball is done in series, not just one game. This isn't a tiebreaker. It's a glorified tie. Baseball is done in series. It's more fair if you have a 3-game series, because in 2015, a lot of people were complaining that a 98-win Pirates team and a 97-win Cubs team only have 1 game to fight for their lives, as opposed to, you know, a 3-game series like they deserved. Meanwhile, the Dodgers and Mets, who had less wins because they won the division, they have a 5-game series. I like this better. I hope they go through it. Do not let me down, MLB or MLBPA. You've let us down before. Don't let us down again. Make this happen. It'll be great for you. It'll be great for the league, the owners, the executives, the fans, even the players. Do it. Will not delegitimize anything. Yeah, you've seen some people say put an asterisk, but everyone wants to put an asterisk and everything. Do it. It's a smart move. But anyway, guys, that's my news of the day. I'm excited to see the Yankees and Nationals, as well as the Dodgers and the Giants. I think for both instances, the home team will win, so I'm picking the Nationals to win their first game of the season against the New York Yankees and show everyone why they're the defending champs. And the Dodgers, I see them beating the Giants pretty easily. Congrats to Mookie Betts on his 12-year extension. You're never going to leave that team for the rest of your life. You'll have the Dodgers hat. You'll have the Dodgers logo on your potential Hall of Fame plaque one day. And for God's sakes, please put in Steve Garvey, baseball writers. Please. Please. Anyway, thanks, guys. Hope you had a nice day.